Hey!
Let's go, guys!
Hey, did you guys know that kids who play sports earn more money when they grow up?
Of course. I knew that.
Hey, did you guys know that kids who read books have a bigger vocabulary?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Wow, Jinx. Did you guys know that friendly children have more friends?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's true, I knew that. Did you guys know that winter babies are better at music?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, so obvious.
Oh, hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Huh, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure I knew that.
I'm pretty sure you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's the Big Finish of 2012 event going on now at Earls Dodge Chrysler Jeep in West Plains. Check out the 2012 Chrysler Town & Country van with seating for up to 7, DVD entertainment system, and an estimated 25 miles per gallon. Or try the capable and dependable 2012 Jeep Wrangler Sport and Jeep Grand Cherokee and Dodge Durango. Be sure to check out our inventory at earlsdodgejeep.com or just come see us at North Highway 63 in West Plains, where buying a vehicle is as simple as it should be.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, some patchy fog, then mostly cloudy. Sunny later on this afternoon with a high of 52 and breezy. Patchy fog overnight tonight down to 33, and then some fog in the morning tomorrow. Sunny in the afternoon with a high of 60. Wednesday, a chance of showers, partly cloudy, and 61. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton, and for more information, check out our website, the all-new www.my1071thepoint.com.
It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. My name is Michael Evans, and you're listening to America's Voice. We are going to discuss this morning a couple of issues related to the Connecticut school shooting, and that will be our bullet points this morning. President Obama yesterday appeared at the high school where the prayer vigil was held, and made some clear and specific comments about his intentions relating to our Second Amendment. And I'd like to remind our President and our Congress that the issues surrounding this particular incident and other incidences prior is not as much related to firearms as it is related to the issues in our society. Our society has descended over the past number of decades based upon a governmental approach and indoctrination towards the failure of individuals to live up to their responsibilities as individual members of our society, by our dependence upon the federal government and state government for our livelihood, for our motivation, for basically all of the functions that human beings are best able to accomplish by themselves. By reducing the concept of self-responsibility and self-reliance and responsibility for one's own actions, by encouraging individuals to feel as if they have an opportunity to act in ways in which they have no long-term ramifications or responsibility we have endangered the fabric of our republic and damaged ourselves. We have damaged our society to the point where our children, for all intents and purposes, are being raised as sociopaths. They have no concept or feeling for themselves or each other. They have no self-esteem other than that engendered and generated by the concept that no one's a loser, everyone's a winner. Political correctness reigns and rules supreme. And that, for all intents and purposes, is a problem. You cannot have an entire society without morality. And our government has worked very, very diligently over the course of the past number of decades to remove the concept of morality. They choose to remove the concept of morality and self-responsibility and self-reliance and replace it with a series of automatons that do as they're told and follow the rules. Unfortunately, they look forward and see that the individuals setting the pace, the individuals who build and design our nation, don't follow the rules themselves. This do as I say and not as I do approach has engendered the exact problem that our nation is struggling with. I encourage our Congress, before they commit another knee-jerk reaction and another Patriot Act or another NDAA or another Patriot Act 2, that they take a look at the real problems that exist in our society today related to issues like mental illness, the lack and inability of our government and our medical community and our psychiatric community to deal effectively with mental illness, the fact that we have stripped away all funding and we have literally hundreds of thousands of homeless individuals who are not homeless because they are unemployed, but are homeless because they are mentally ill. And we leave our streets and our cities littered with these individuals. The ACLU and other groups of that ilk have worked very, very hard to make sure that those individuals' rights are protected. Unfortunately, by protecting their rights, they've also barred society from being able to adequately watch over them. And that is a mistake. Now, the end result is that because there are 1 or 10 or 20 individuals over the course of a number of decades who have accomplished heinous acts, we are going to limit the ability of all for the 0.0000001%. That, in my opinion, is stupidity and foolishness. It is also unconstitutional. Our Second Amendment very clearly states, and it ends with the phrase, shall not be infringed. Mr. President, Congress, senators, I remind you of the phrase, shall not be infringed. Underscore, bold the word shall. That means, as you all know, since you're all legal beagles, that it is not optional. If it was meant to be optional, they would have used the word may. That's the end of the talking points and bullet points for today. I want to open our telephone lines, and our telephone lines today are sponsored by Wits End Classic Barbershop. They are open 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday, and they stay open late on Thursdays and Fridays, so they will not be open today. This is a great barbershop here in the community, and they offer outstanding haircuts, super hot lather shaves, and it's an old world barbershop. You feel like you've gone back 75 years when you step in. So I encourage you to go visit with him, and the gentleman's name over there is Jason. You're welcome to do that. Please indicate when you arrive there that Mike from America's Voice has sent you. And our telephone numbers today are 257-1111 and 866-554-6636. We also have a guest this morning, Bob Mazur. He is the author of a new book out there, and he is a former DEA undercover agent and the author of The Infiltrator, My Secret Life Inside the Dirty Banks Behind Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel. This is a fellow who lived undercover within the cartel and identified why and how they transported drugs, laundered money, and so forth. Our topic today will be to talk a little bit about billions and billions and billions of dollars laundered by these banks, and yet not one single individual has ever been held accountable for that. Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
I see this all coming down to be a backlash against our mentally deficient people we have in this country. Several of these shooters have been mental patients, including this last one.
Yeah.
And I see a backlash. They're going to say, well, we're going to have to start controlling these people more. And that takes away people's freedoms, But I don't know the answer all the way.
Well, the Democrats have already come out and stated that their intention is to pass new legislation that would ban all assault weapons, any weapon with a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds. I know. And let me tell you something. They've already stated what it is. Feinstein's bill states not only will this will be retroactive, and it will it'll ban the importation, but also the transfer and possession of existing weapons.
I know. I have the list here. You probably saw on my caller ID where I'm calling from.
I didn't. No, I'm sorry.
We sell guns every day.
I got you.
This is West Plains Pawn.
Gotcha.
One of the biggest gun dealers in the area.
Yep.
And I have the list here of what they want to ban.
Yep.
And I can email it to you if you'd like to see it.
I'd love to see it.
Have it.
No, I'd love to see it because my desktop crashed and I'm in the process of reformatting my hard drive, so I'm down to a laptop and it's been a hectic weekend. Do me a favor, send it to me at mike@americasvoicenow.org. I'll be more than happy to put that up on our site as well.
I'll do it.
Thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. So, folks, we are going to see a tsunami of new legislation that is all anti-gun in its origin, and I would encourage you to make sure that you are participating fully in the upcoming issues surrounding that. It is going to be incumbent on each and every one of us that we make it painfully and abundantly clear that our Congress may not usurp and or steal our rights away towards our Second Amendment permissions. That will be an unacceptable and, quite frankly, a major problem. I can tell you this, that if the federal government chooses to attempt to remove firearms ownership from the United States population, that if they try to come and get the guns, they will get themselves a war. Because while many, many, many people will turn them in, the vast majority, I believe, will not. And if you're going to turn around and make everyone who is in possession a felon, then, quite frankly, you have basically destroyed the fabric of your own nation. I believe that would be a serious mistake. We're going to take a break. When we come back, please feel free to give us a call on our Wits End Hairline. Our telephone number is again 257-1111, 866-554-6636. Want to remind you folks to give Bill Stone a call from Stone Construction if you're interested in doing a remodel, newer custom construction, and light commercial work at 2930116. Make sure you meet Mary from Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at number 2 Court Square, 255-2253. She will be open late on Christmas Eve, and make sure that you get in there to get your special orders in immediately if possible. We will have Bob Mazur on from our 9:30 point, our 8:30 window. We'll be right back.
Okay, I got it.
It's easy to take a day for granted. You and your family are connected by routine, and you stick to it. But what if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if your day's routine is disrupted and you can't reach your family? Have you planned for that? Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Today. Learn how at www.ready.gov. Ready.gov. This message brought to you by the Federal Emergency Management Agency and the Ad Council.
America's Voice Now with Michael Evans.
All right, we're back. Bob Mazur will be joining us at our 8:30 mark. Bob is a former DEA agent, operated undercover for the Medellin cartel, and was very heavily involved in that. And his comments are, basically between 06 and 09, while tens of thousands of street-level drug dealers found themselves shipped off to U.S. federal prisons for the better part of the rest of their lives, executives at HSBC Bank flew around the world orchestrating secret bank transactions that washed the blood off of tens of billions of U.S. currency dollars owned by the world's biggest cartels. They did this, of course, with absolute support and encouragement by our own government. HSBC was the world's most active secret courier of cold, hard, dirty cash. At times, these bulk cash payments were so huge, they filled 40-foot shipping containers with cash bills. Some shipments not only moved drug money, but also fed over $1 billion in currency to a cash-starved Saudi bank with links to Al-Qaeda. Only after confronted by inescapable facts, HSBC Bank was allowed to apologize for their mistake. As long as they passed on a $1.9 billion profit, basically it was a fine, but they passed on $1.9 billion in profits via a fine to the U.S. government. Not a single individual in HSBC has ever been criminally charged. That, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why our society is coming apart at the seams. Because our country believes that the laws are designed, geared, written, and abused by those in power to benefit themselves while penalizing us for the most menial, insignificant crimes that they can come up with. It is absolutely shameful that our nation has descended to the point where we have, in fact, most people are not aware that the DEA was being investigated, and we never hear about this in the mainstream media, for $400 billion in money laundering that was related to the South American drug cartels. Now, why hasn't anyone ever been prosecuted? Why is the DEA still even alive? You've got to wonder why. You've got to wonder how it is that our nation can be so absolutely destroyed from within by these individuals in power, and yet no one seems to care. Eric Holder recently, and I just posted this as an article up on the website, so make sure you get over there to americasvoicenow.org. That's americasvoicenow.org. I just posted an article up there about how Attorney General Eric Holder, who you all know, I believe, is an out-and-out traitor to the United States of America, and should be charged as such, not to mention he should be charged with murder. Attorney General Eric Holder secretly granted the government the ability to develop and store dossiers on innocent Americans via via the National Counterterrorism Task Force. Now, this is a secret government agreement that he granted. I mean, who the hell is this guy to think he has the right to grant anything? He granted approval to this agency to go out there and monitor and collect information and build dossiers on every American citizen. This is the National Counterterrorism Center, and have you noticed that you've never even heard of these folks? Go ahead, caller. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Mike. This is Damien Isaacs.
Hey, man. Damien. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Sitting here cooking some bacon for me and the boy.
Well, I'm coming over to your house after I get off the show.
Yeah, get my morning started right with America's Voice. Hey, these are the same people that, couldn't get SOPA passed because they had the huge corporation from it, but got CISPA in there where, these are the same people that are saying because of 9/11, because of these, that guess what, now all of a sudden 350 million Americans are suspects.
Yeah.
These are the same people that, like you said, you got into it before you brought me on. They said that they're building dossiers. They absolutely are. And if people don't think that, this is no longer a 1984 technocratic, this is beyond that.
This is past 1984, folks.
Yeah, this is so far. This is, people, you need to realize that this isn't socialism. This is
fascism.
Yeah, this is fascism, where the government is controlled by the corporations. People, I've had so many people say, "Oh, that's conspiracy, that's conspiracy," and then I cite the NDAA. Then I show them, well, not only did they purchase this many 100 million, but as of what was it? A couple of months ago, I think they released it was 200 million more. And I got reading down through the PDF, and people, all you need to do is, just pull this up on Google.
I've actually had those posted up on the website. In fact, I had, before that was redacted by the government, I had the actual orders that showed 750 million rounds purchased, and that was the second order for 750 million rounds.
Right.
And it's actually still up on the website, folks. So if you're interested in seeing it, get over there and and draw it up yourself.
Yeah,
you can see exactly what they've ordered.
Right. Look at the 30 caliber, and even the 223 stuff. That is ballistic tip, match grade.
Right. Well, the 40 caliber, which is the standard law enforcement weapon, and all of that's hollow point. None of it is ball ammo. So
yeah, you look at this stuff and you realize even if you aren't an avid shooter, you realize that guess what? You don't go target practice with anything but FMJ. FMJ is all you would use typically for target practice because it's cheap.
Yeah.
You don't go target practice with ballistic tip and or hollow point. You just don't do it.
Right.
It's too expensive.
Well, let me tell you something. This year, or earlier this year, I should say, Holder granted the NCTC, which is the National Counterterrorism Center, these new sweeping powers to build dossiers on every American. And so here's the deal. This includes databases that hold information on everything from flight records, casino employee lists, the name of Americans who host foreign exchange students, and all kinds of other data. And they can hold it up to 5 years without suspicion that somebody in the database has actually even committed a crime.
And
now, here's the interesting part. The law used to prohibit the center from storing databases and dossiers on U.S. citizens unless they actually suspected them of some sort of terrorist activity or if it was relevant to, an ongoing investigation that was going on. These new powers give the NCTC the ability to not only collect and store databases on every American, but they can trawl through it and analyze it for suspicious patterns in order to uncover activity that might even launch an investigation. Right. So basically what it is, folks, is this is a dragnet. The changes made by Eric Holder allow these databases to be even shared with foreign governments for their own analysis. And here's the clincher, folks, and if this doesn't prove to you that we're in danger, nothing does. A former White House official told the Wall Street Journal that the new changes were, quote, breathtaking in scope.
Right. Yes, I read that exact article, and whenever they use the word breathtaking, that is a Washington con saying that.
Right.
That is somebody that is used to seeing these things. whenever somebody in Washington is saying that these new powers are sweeping and that they're breathtaking, folks, we need to wake up and realize that, of course, this is going to be a tool. This latest tragedy they're going to use it to their advantage. They said in the I believe the Project for a New American Century, they said, I don't know if it was Dick Cheney or who it was. I'll get my sources right and call you back.
Well,
but he said that you don't ever let a tragedy, or don't ever let a
good crisis go to waste.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that was Governor. I can't remember.
No, that was he's now the governor, the mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
but by the way, that's not his quote. That's an old quote. But you're absolutely right. He uses it on a routine basis for exactly this. So, but let me tell you something, folks. This thing has even Homeland Security told the White House that this was over the top. And Mary Ellen Callahan, who was then the chief privacy officer for the DHS, led the charge to stop this bill. Mary Ellen Callahan, argued that the new rules represent, quote, a sea change, end quote, and that every interaction a citizen would have with the government in the future would be ruled by the underlying question, is that person a terrorist? Now, here's the deal, folks. This came out of Wired magazine, and I'm here to tell you this is a frightening whole new level of surveillance and monitoring of America's citizens. And I'm here to tell you the first thing that they're going to do, and you can already bet on it, they're going to start going around and collecting the firearms logbooks of all of these dealers out there who have been selling selling firearms for decades, and they're going to take that information and build a database out of it. They've already got one through the NICS call-in system. But now they're actually going to get the serial numbers of every gun that's out there, and they're going to start asking you, where is it? We're going to come back in just a minute. Thanks very much for the call. Appreciate you, Damien. We're going to take a quick break, folks. When we come back, we're going to have Bob Mazur on with us, and we'll talk about this issue about HSBC and do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. We'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to America's Voice.
This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Sal Giangrasso. We're awaiting a police update. Meantime, they're starting to bury the victims of Friday's shooting rampage that left 26 dead at the Sandy Hook Elementary School.
A total of 7 funerals will take place this week, and several other funeral arrangements are underway for the other victims of this tragedy.
Fox's Carrie Drew in Newtown, Connecticut. The morning's gray skies match the community's somber mood.
Schools remain shut here. It's still a community in mourning under gray, chilly skies with makeshift memorials. One in the town square underneath the Christmas tree, candles still flickering, and stuffed animals, bouquets of flowers, and the names of children on a Christmas wreath as angels.
Fox News Radio's Courtney Keeley. And West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, a lifelong member of the National Rifle Association, says it's time to discuss gun policy and move toward action on gun regulation. This is a Fox News Alert.
Both of these kids who were involved, this kid that was involved in Connecticut.
You can no longer say, it's not my union, it's not my school, it's not my church, it's not my city, it's not my country. Because if you remain silent, I guarantee you, I promise you, in a very short period of time, you will say, this is not my country, this is not my state, this is not my business, this is not my church, this is not my son or daughter. You won't recognize any of it.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
That's Glenn Beck from 2 until 5 on 107.1 The Point.
More calls and more prizes this weekend during the Kim Commando Show Great Giveaway. How about a brand new HP Pavilion notebook computer?
Oh my.
A brand new laptop. Are you excited?
I'm beside myself. I can't believe it.
How about we give you a trip for 2 to Las Vegas?
No way.
Yes,
Are you serious? This is just too cool. I mean, you're my new hero now.
Our no new taxes pledge is a thing of the past. On the next Alan Combs Show, more Republicans say they're renouncing promises to never support tax hikes. Is it political suicide or a simple case of fiscal responsibility? We'll debate it. Plus, as President Obama meets with Mexico's new leader, could immigration reform be around the corner? We've got the details. on the next Alan Colmes Show.
The Ozarks' best news talk, 107.1 The Point.
The big finish of 2012 is going on now at Earls Dodge Chrysler Jeep in West Plains. Come experience the new Dart Limited Sedan 6-speed automatic. The new 2013 Dodge Dart redefines performance with Alfa Romeo DNA, fuel-efficient powertrains, and Dodge's passion for performance. The all-new Dodge Dart is a thoroughly modern vehicle that's beautifully designed and crafted, agile and fun to drive, and available with a turbo. Check one out today at Earls Dodge Chrysler Jeep, North Highway 63 in West Plains, where buying a vehicle is as simple as it should be.
From the Point Weather Center for this morning, some patchy fog, then mostly cloudy. Sunny later on this afternoon with a high of 52 and breezy. Patchy fog overnight tonight down to 33, and then some fog in the morning tomorrow. Sunny in the afternoon with a high of 60. Wednesday, a chance of showers, partly cloudy, and 61. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton, and for more information, check out our website, the all-new www.my1071thepoint.com.
America's Voice Now with Michael Evans.
All right, we are back from the capitalist money break. Got to pay for our airtime, folks. That's the way we do it. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I am your host for this hour and every hour. We've been joined this morning by Robert Mazur, or Bob Mazur, who is a former DEA undercover agent and the author of the book The Infiltrator: My Secret Life Inside the Dirty Banks Behind Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel. Now, Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad that you were able to join us this morning. You know, our listening audience here, typically our goal is to educate and inform. And this falls right in with that concept in the sense that what we find is that our government's attitude of do as I say, but not as I do, is so rampant, and that this government is so full of hypocrisy that we can't actually trust anything anymore. The recent, and there were some recent investigations about the DEA laundering some $400 million worth of drug money that actually we've never heard again about. In other words, they brought it out and then boom, we never heard another word about it. Can you comment on that in relation to this HSBC issue?
Well, I was, among other things, a long-term undercover agent when I was a federal agent, and I worked in a long-term undercover capacity as a money launderer within the Medellin cartel and as a conduit for the international banks and businesses that they were dealing with. It took years and years to get into that kind of a position with them, but it's a very important investigative technique. I mean, in that particular instance, we recorded more than 1,000 conversations with high-level people within the Medellin cartel, as well as senior members of what was the 7th largest privately held bank in the world, a bank with a presence in 72 countries, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, that was one of the biggest money laundering machines. Of course, it paled in comparison to HSBC as far as their amounts of money laundering, but they were at the time considered to be the largest money laundering machine on this planet. And it was a different technique, though. It was a technique that we used where we were proactively involved, proactively identifying who does this type of stuff, recording conversations so that we gave juries critical evidence that they could use to measure the intent of the people involved in the transactions, and they put a lot of these bankers away for a very long period of time, and it was a very good deterrent at the time. But unfortunately, our government has now shifted away from that. And what we generally see is what we've seen in the HSBC case. It's actually, I've been tracking this for years now, it's about the 16th deferred prosecution that's been offered to a bank. Deferred prosecution basically is a contract. The government comes forward and says, hey, see this indictment here? Well, we've got the evidence to prosecute you. We want you to cooperate. We want you to allow us to monitor your transactions. We want you to correct your behavior in the international banking community. We want you to pay a fine, and then we're going to let you go home. And we're not going to prosecute anybody. And we're not going to put anybody in jail. And it's the most ridiculous position that I think we can possibly be taking. But I think we take it, unfortunately, because we measure profits over integrity. And that's really what the HSBC case is all about. If you look closely at what they did, it's just totally inexcusable. What they've documented is certainly, you've got to put the caveat of at least before you give the numbers, because it's what they've documented. I mean, after a period of time, how many hundreds of millions and billions do you really need to document in order to be able to show that these things went on? Right. But what they did document thus far is that they laundered, HSBC did, at least $881 million for the Sinaloa cartel. That's the biggest Mexican drug cartel.
Oh my.
And the Norte de Valle cartel, which is the biggest Colombian drug cartel. They failed to monitor $200 trillion in wire transfers. Between
200, how much?
Trillion, with a T.
Oh,
wire transfers between 2006 and 2009. That included $670 billion in wires that came from HSBC's Mexican branch that was the favored bank of the drug cartels operating in Mexico. They failed to monitor billions in purchases of U.S. currency. They were the most active bank in what's called the bulk bank note business. It's very, very simple. They're buying and selling currencies around the world. It's a very, very high-risk business, especially if you're buying from companies such as they did, houses of exchange in Mexico. The U.S. government, the Treasury Department, has put out alerts for the last decade warning international banks, if you're going to deal with houses of exchange, casas de cambio, be aware. That is the most often abused type of business that the cartels use in order to hide the illegality of currency. It's simple. They sell huge amounts of drugs in the United States. They smuggle the cash, for the most part, out of the U.S. across, and I won't even call it a border, it's a frontier, across our frontier to the south. They take that money into South America, into Latin America, and at this time, very often into Mexico, into businesses like houses of exchange, these supposed legitimate businesses exchanging currencies. Then they pack it up on pallets and shrink wrap it, or put it in 40-foot containers, and then they sell it to HSBC, who then winds up selling it to other people and or selling it back to the Federal Reserve. They made a business out of buying and selling currencies around the world. The problem is, most of the centers in which they were buying currency are well documented. Mexico, and then the sub-Sahara area of Africa, the West African nations like Togo, Mali, Benin, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau. These are all collection points for drug trafficking money in the world. The nations in West Africa, because of the European routes for the sale of cocaine for the Colombian and Mexican cartels, and Mexico, because it is the wholesale buyer of cocaine from the Colombian cartels and thereafter the distributors of that cocaine into North America. So they're in the bulk cash business. Now, not only do they buy the cash from documented drug traffickers, their relationship got so cozy with the cartels that they began to build boxes that were specifically designed so that they would fit perfectly inside the openings of the HSBC teller windows, so that when they came in with the boxes, they didn't have to show, everybody wouldn't see all the cash. They could just shove these boxes through in order to get them in. There were wiretaps done by the Mexican authorities of a drug lord in Mexico, where they captured his conversations saying that HSBC was the preferred place for the cartel to be laundering their drug proceeds. Now, as they acquire, HSBC acquires this bulk cash, among the places that they sold it was they sold $1 billion worth of the U.S. currency to Saudi Arabia's largest private bank, Al Rajhi Bank, which the key founder is a documented financial supporter of Al-Qaeda. They gave them $1 billion in U.S. currency that they sold to them. Why is it important for them to get U.S. currency? Because U.S. currency is the world's currency, and if they want to deal in the world's markets, they need it. They need the U.S. dollar.
Sure, but meanwhile, we're paying to kill our own soldiers overseas, right? I mean, that's what they're doing with that money.
Yeah. Now, they also created a branch in the Cayman Islands where they established 35,000 U.S. dollar accounts. 2,200 of those designated as high risk, $205 million in value. They barely knew who the owners of the money were, but it was commonly discussed within HSBC by employees that it was believed that the Cayman branch was being used by organized crime. Many of the transfers from the accounts established in Cayman, because there was no real bank there, it was all paper, and it was all being managed out of Mexico.
Sure, it's all digital money.
Right. The transfers were going to, many times, to a U.S. company that was alleged to be supplying aircraft to drug cartels. So you add all of this together. Oh, and then, of course, there was, between 2000 and 2006, they knowingly transferred at least $660 million to further trade in sanctioned nations, violating the Trading with the Enemy Act and other laws. And these were trades that were done on behalf of businesses associated with Iran. That it's criminal in order to deal with them. This is a sanctioned nation, sanctioned by the U.S. and other nations, that they're not supposed to be doing business with. But they worked it out within an internal conspiracy to come up with a method to be able to alter the records so that people wouldn't know that these transfers were being done for the benefit of Iranian banks. And why did they want to continue to do that? Because they were afraid, and by their own admission, they were afraid that if they didn't do these things, that they would lose the business with these banks.
Unbelievable.
Now, this bank was operating during this time frame. This is the third time in the past 10 years that HSBC has been penalized for similar conduct.
The third in how many years?
In 10 years, the third time. You know, 3 strikes and you're out, I guess, under the U.S. laws, are only applied to those young people in this country who are dealing in illegal drugs. I've been to sentencings where 2 brothers, I remember it like it was yesterday, 20 and 21 years old, being sentenced. Bad guys, needed to go to jail, but dealing in crack cocaine, but enough crack cocaine that would fill maybe a shoebox.
Right.
They went to prison for life.
Sure.
They're still in prison.
Sure.
And they're going to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
Hey,
yet we let these guys pay a fine.
You know, what you're telling us, though, Bob, and we got a break coming up, so I'm going to just ask you to hang on with us until after the break. Can you do that, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What you're telling us is that this could be construed and classified as treason. So when we come back from this break, what I'd like you to do is kind of tell us who in this government is responsible for not taking action, for overseeing this, because this doesn't happen in a vacuum. This isn't some low-level clerk somewhere who's just shuffling paperwork around. When we have documented access and proof, I would like to know how we can find that individual out and hold them accountable. Folks, you're listening to America's Voice now. We've got Bob Mazur on with us at the-infiltrator.com. We'll be right back.
The holidays are here. Come to Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance to find the special gifts that will really be appreciated. We have a variety of stocking stuffers ranging from Kaito radios and life straws to wave shields for your cell phone. We also have Berkey and Katadyn water filters for the health-conscious person. Also, Wise Foods and Lodge cookware to make delicious meals for the whole family. Ozark Mountain Self-Reliance, located a half-mile east of Walmart on Highway 62 in Mountain Home. 870-492-4030.
Did you know many of the hosts heard right here on the Ozarks Best News Talk 107.1 The Point are also heard across the nation, such as Dennis Miller, he's on live from 9 until noon. Then Glenn Beck on from 2 till 5 every weekday and sometimes on at 1 p.m. Mark Levin from 5 to 8 in the evening, and Alan Combs on from 9 until midnight. Then coast to coast throughout your overnight. For all your weekend programming options, please email info@diamondmediaradio.com.
Registering with Selective Service can be a key to jobs, citizenship, and more. When a young man turns 18, he is required to register with the Selective Service System. It's the law. For most immigrants, registration with Selective Service is a requirement for U.S. citizenship. Men who should register and do not won't qualify for federal student loans or grant programs, such as Pell Grants or PLUS loans, or federal jobs. In addition, some states require proof of registration to qualify for a driver's license. To learn more, visit www.sss.gov.
America's Voice Now with Michael Evans.
We are back. You are listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Mike Evans. I'm your host for this hour. We were speaking with Bob Mazur, the author of The Infiltrator, My Secret Life Inside the Dirty Banks Behind Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel. He has a website out there that you can visit, which is infiltrator.com. That's infiltrator.com. That's the-infiltrator.com. You know, this is a troubling example of the exact kind of thing that we were just talking about before, which is this do as I say, not as I do mentality. And we lost, I'm not quite sure what happened. Bob got Bob's phone cut off when we were on the break there, and I'm hoping he'll give us a shout back in. But folks, I encourage you to do your own homework on this exact type of thing. This is another example, this and MF Global and so many other examples that we can see of a government that has descended into such corruption that it is impossible for them to act in a fair and equitable format or manner with us as a nation. And, you know, the idea that they have the moral authority to dictate anything to us when they know that this is willfully occurring and happening is just beyond comprehension. You know, they're going to come out here very shortly in reference to this Connecticut thing and try to disarm the entire nation. And I'm here to tell you, if you're going to allow this group, these people who sit there and knowingly, willfully pay money that's going to kill our military overseas and is going to poison generations of Americans with drugs and destroy our entire infrastructure as a moral fabric of our nation, I have absolutely no respect for them. And I'm here to tell you that this is only one example of literally thousands. Our Congress is living and reaping the benefits of billions and billions of dollars of fraud and betrayal and cheating and lying. And it is just unbelievable that this is the type of activity that we see within our own nation. Bob, welcome back to the show. I apologize. I'm not quite sure whether we lost you but thanks for calling back.
No problem.
So this, to me, is actually a function or a level of treason. I mean, who is responsible ultimately? Who do we point a finger at and say, you're the guy that did this, and hold these people accountable?
Well, it starts at the Attorney General's office. There's a fellow who's the chief of the criminal division, Lanny Brewer, who reports directly to Eric Holder.
And he was also involved in Fast and Furious.
Absolutely. Lanny Brewer was very much involved in the controversy of whether or not he became the kind of the China wall between the information and Eric Holder as far as their public position with regard to Fast and Furious. They both worked together in the same major law firm in Washington, well known for representing the biggest banks in the world. They should have recused themselves from making any decisions in this case. Beyond them, you know, you've got Tim Geithner, you've got the secretary, also you've got all the people who were involved in the monetary side of the issues here for the United States, including the Federal Reserve. You have all the people at the very top who decided that if they were to allow a criminal prosecution of HSBC, that in their view it could have had a detrimental impact on the banking industry within the United States. And they made what they thought was the profitable decision, not the integrity decision. Our pockets are apparently more important than our integrity. And it's they who, and they're rather open about it, that they got together with all of the people involved in the monetary interests for the United States and decided that this was the right thing to do. Now, if this had been a Saudi bank or a Colombian bank, I'm sure this wouldn't have been the case. As a matter of fact, there's a bank not that long ago called the Lebanese Canadian Bank that was caught in similar money laundering activity. They were put out of business by the U.S. government. The problem that we faced here...
They didn't like the competition?
Well, they claim that the issue is that these guys were too big to jail. You know, it used to be too big to fail, now it's too big to jail.
Yeah, but it sounds like the people that need to go to jail are right here in our own government. I mean, they're the ones who are encouraging and developing the wherewithal and the ability to do this. And by the way, during your period in time here in which you were doing this, you go further back than this current administration. You were there during the Bush administration and perhaps even Clinton, correct? So, I mean, this is not something new to this administration. This has been going on now for decades.
No, to make you even feel worse about this situation and hopefully get people motivated to really share this story with as many people as they possibly can and try to make our elected officials realize how upset we are about this thing. There's a list of banks that have been given similar treatment in the recent past. We can start with Wachovia Bank, which in March of 2010 got a similar deferred prosecution. They only paid a $160 million fine, which was 2% of their 2009 profits. Now, what they got in return for that was the opportunity to solicit roughly $400 billion in deposits, U.S. dollar deposits, from account holders in Mexico. Again, many of them casas de cambio. Again, in many instances, bringing back into the United States bulk cash on behalf of drug cartels. Then you have Bank Atlantic in April of 2006, $20 million fine. American Express Bank International, 2007, $55 million fine. Union Bank of California, September of 2007, $21 million fine. Then we move into banks that are involved in stripping information off of wire transfers so that they could bust sanctions against Iran and other nations, like Lloyd's that paid in January of 2009 $350 million. UBS in a big tax fraud conspiracy, helping the really wealthy of the wealthy in the United States completely evade income taxes. They paid a $780 million fine and admitted to be involved in a conspiracy to defraud the U.S. of taxpayers of income taxes by helping the wealthy of the wealthiest. Deutsche Bank, same thing, December of 2010, $553 million. Credit Suisse, December 2009, $536 million. ABN AMRO, Belgium's biggest bank, May 2010, $500 million. Barclays Bank, August of 2010, $298 million. Ing, June of 2012, $619 million. And Standard Chartered Bank, which is now up to probably somewhere around $500 or $600 million that they've paid in connection with their stripping of wire transfers. All of those banks that I mentioned admitted in deferred prosecutions for having committed a criminal offense in connection with their handling of these financial transactions that go to the core of illegality.
We're down, Bob, we're down to 2 minutes. I'm going to ask you a quick question. What does our society do? What does an individual do when we have a government that is so morally corrupt that we can't trust anything that they say or do? And how do we, what do we do to try to affect change? I mean, we can't sit here and just know it and then not take action against it. But what do we do?
Yeah,
they're so powerful.
Unfortunately, the world itself doesn't seem to care about this, because when you look at the HSBC shares on the day that they did the deferred prosecution, their shares closed up 0.5%. They never really were affected by this as far as their shareholders were concerned, and they wound up paying roughly 10% of what their profits were during the year, during just a one-year period. They did this for many, many, many years. So as far as what we can do as individuals, I think other than to say that we need to educate the rest of the population about this going on, we need to hope that they will voice their displeasure about this with their elected officials. I know I'm not going to stop talking about this until I'm just not going to stop talking about it, period. My intention is today to sit down and write what I hope will be another editorial piece, an opinion piece for the New York Times or some other major paper. But we need to take a long, hard, fast look at this and get upset. We need to open our mouths. We need to make it be known that we really are upset about this, and we're not going to let it continue to go on. I read an article today. It was an editorial piece in the Tampa paper talking about, well, we can't let this happen for the next HSBC. This is ridiculous. Let's not wait for the next HSBC. There is absolutely no reason, even with this agreement, that the government cannot go back and try to develop the evidence against the individuals. The bank didn't launder the money. Individuals laundered the money. Until we start putting individual officers and senior managers, senior executives of these banks, people in the boardrooms, behind bars.
Yeah,
that's it. Then that's really what it's going to take. That's what needs to be done.
Well, Bob, I'm going to send you an email with my email, and I'd love to get when you're finished this op-edit piece, I'd love to be able to publish it up on our site as well. I want to thank you very, very much for joining with us this morning and helping to alert our listening audience to exactly what's going on. This is the kind of thing that we talk about on a routine basis here, but unfortunately, fortunately, it's nice to have a guy like you who comes on here and can show and talk about specifics that really affect our everyday lives. So thank you very much for joining with us this morning.
You're very welcome.
We appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. Thanks.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Folks, this is a wrap for the show. I tell you, this kind of stuff is disturbing. This particular show was brought to us today by Stone Construction, Bill Stone over at 2930116. Remodels, custom and new construction, light commercial. Give him a shout at 2930116. Sponsored also by Chantilly's Artisan Bakery at 255-2253, number 2 Evans Arcade. And our phone lines today are sponsored by Wits End, our hair hotline. Thank you, by the way, for your sponsorship, Jason. We appreciate you. Old-fashioned barbershop, folks, make sure you get over there and take a look at that. Thanks very much, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.
.107.1 The Point, KBMV, Birch Tree, West Plains.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. Millions of Americans can relate to this.
I have little ones of my own, and I feel their grief.
In Newtown, Connecticut, where 20 kids and 6 adults were killed in Friday's elementary school massacre, 2 adults did survive.
We are possessing that school. We are holding that school as a crime scene indefinitely.
As for the guns Adam Lanza used before killing himself, State Police Lieutenant Paul Vance adds there.
Searching every database, searching every record.
Fox News Radio's Courtney Keeley's live in Newtown.
The first 2 funerals for 2 6-year-old children killed will be held today. Candlelight vigils and several church masses will also be held in towns throughout Connecticut. School superintendents across the state were given information, including a list of written prompts for classroom teachers to help them address the shooting with their students. The motive behind 20-year-old Adam Lanza's deadly massacre remains unclear. Dave?
Courtney, President Obama attended a vigil last night.
These tragedies must end.
But what can be done? Fox News Radio's Mike Makowitz is live at the White House.
Well, gun control advocates have some ideas there. They're expected to try and move legislation as early as today. They say it's a conversation long overdue. But Texas House Republican Louis Gohmert says limiting the Second Amendment is the wrong way to go.
A free people should be an armed people. It ensures against the tyranny of the government.
Connecticut Democratic Independent Senator Joe Lieberman says there is a common mental health threat here.
Young men who, in hindsight, everybody says, or a lot of people say, were obviously troubled.
Lieberman says the nation also needs to look at the role violent entertainment is playing here. Dave?
Mike, Fox News has just learned Republican Congressman Tim Scott is South Carolina's governor's choice to replace Senator Jim DeMint. The Republican is leaving to head up the Heritage Foundation. There will be an explosion on the moon today as 2 different probes the NASA's been using to study the moon are crashed into the moon on purpose. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Jay Farner here from Quicken Loans. We get a lot of tweets from folks that sound just like this. Jay, I bought my home in 2007. Since then, it's gone down in value. Now I owe more on my mortgage than my home is worth. Can I refinance? The answer may very well be yes. Recently, the government announced changes that may allow folks to refinance even if their home has lost value. For example, if you owe $300,000 on your mortgage, but your home's only worth $150,000, Quicken Loans may still be able to help you. Or if your current mortgage rate is higher than 3.99%, you've got to give us a call today at 800-QUICKEN. And for 3 years in a row now, J.D. Power & Associates has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. So, if your current mortgage is higher than 3.99%, or if you owe more than your home is worth, call Quicken Loans today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
For J.D. Power & Associates award information, visit jdpower.com. Important terms and conditions apply. Costs for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
There are some gains to start the week. On Wall Street, Fox Business Network's Dennis Neal is here live.
Stocks are up on new hopes for averting the fiscal cliff. The Dow now up 65 points to 13,200. Republicans have offered to raise tax rates on earnings over $1 million a year and bring in $1 trillion in extra revenue over 10 years. That's up $200 billion from their first offer. Any cliff hopes are undercut, though, by a second monthly decline in manufacturing in the New York region, down far more than expected. Clearwire stock plunges 12% on a low-ball takeover offer from Sprint, and shares of Apple fell below the $500 mark in pre-trading on a downgrade from Citigroup. They're at 506 right now, Dave.
And Dennis, more now on those fiscal cliff negotiations. We are about 2 weeks away from reaching the deadline.
Since House Speaker John Boehner has said he'd consider letting tax rates go up on millionaires, members of Congress are sounding more positive about reaching a deal. Democrat Henry Cuellar of Texas.
We have to come together as Democrats and Republicans, and I think we can do it.
Republican Congressman Peter King of New York.
We're never going to get the perfect deal, but I'm confident that John will get the best deal that we can.
Part of that deal from Boehner would mean more spending cuts and maybe raising the age people qualify to start getting Medicare. If no deal is reached by the end of the year, everyone sees a tax hike and plenty of spending cuts. In Washington, Jill Nato, Fox News Radio.
Oil is on the rise today, about $0.50, back over $87 a barrel. Gas dips another penny. AAA's national average for regular about $3.25 a gallon. The Packers and Texans have clinched an NFL playoff spot with wins yesterday, and there was a wild game last night in New England.
Going to go to the air, throw a little bit low, but it was caught by Crabtree. He's inside the 20, the 10, touchdown San Francisco.
A 41-34 win for the 49ers on NBC. San Fran had blown a 28-point lead earlier in the game. The Broncos won their 9th straight, and the Falcons shut out the Giants. The Redskins and Cowboys also won. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News Radio.
This is Janet with Earls Dodge Chrysler Jeep in West Plains and invite you to test drive a new Dodge Dart. The Dart is loaded with innovative technology, class-leading safety features, and clever functionality. The new Dodge Dart sets a new standard in the compact car segment by offering unmatched personalization, roominess, style,